Welcome to Capitalize Your Finances, the podcast that's your ultimate guide to mastering personal finances and unlocking the secrets of entrepreneurship. Each week, we dive into the world of personal finance and business development and have fascinating conversations with industry experts, seasoned entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who share their insights, strategies, and stories to help you get ahead in life. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking to scale your business or someone just starting out on your financial path, this podcast is your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable insights.
Welcome back to Capitalize Your Finances. As always, I'm your host, Christopher A. Poniotu, certified financial planning professional, the Cap and Capitalize. And on today's episode, we are going to learn, and by we, I mean you, everything you need to know about side hustles and making more money. Who doesn't want to make more money? I don't know of anyone that would actually agree with that. And if you do say that you don't want to make more money, you're a liar. But I digress. Before we get into this episode, the free tip of the week, as always. This one's a doozy, okay? It's a little long one. December is a perfect time to game plan for your New Year's financial goals. Now, I do this practice every year, where on December 31st, I spend several hours, sometimes up to a full day, but with a wife and little one, that becomes very, very difficult. But regardless, I take at least several hours and I'm completely alone with my thoughts. I'll shut off my phone and all I do is reflect on everything that has happened in the year. Now, I do this actually with all of my resolutions because I personally do resolutions to better myself, my business, and my health. And so it's not just financial. But once I'm done reflecting, I seriously think about, and again, I grade myself for the year. Like, did I achieve everything that I did? And some years I don't, and I'm very critical about that. And then I double down and go, okay, this is the year that I'm going to go even higher and higher. I think about up to, let's call it 4 big items that I want to achieve in the new year. And I wouldn't go any more than that. In fact, I'd say less is more. Now, the reason why this is so valuable is if you do this every year, in 5 years from now, your finances will be infinitely better than you could ever begin to imagine. So now you got that free tip out of the way. It is time to get into everything you need to know about side hustles and making more money. So the first one I want to talk about, before you focus on a side hustle, make sure you have maxed out your main hustle. I think that's a term. We're going to go with it. Your main hustle, okay? Now, I'm going to use an analogy with investing just because it's so easy for me to do, okay? And it's in my wheelhouse here. So when, like, I personally am trying to manage my wife and my stock portfolio, I tend to like to have anywhere between 5 to 10% of any particular company as a portion of the portfolio. And there's reasons for that, but what you need to know with that analogy is the greater the percentage, the greater success we should have. And I'm being a little cognizant of compliance here because obviously I'm not guaranteeing anything, but like the more assurance you have with a business, of course that should be a bigger bet within your portfolio. If you don't have as much conviction, it shouldn't be as great, okay? Now, the reason why you would do this, I mean, apply this to real life. Why would you diversify into just hundreds of different companies? There is no way in God's green earth you are going to be able to follow hundreds of different companies. There's no way. You may be able to follow hundreds of different companies on a surface level, but to really understand what you own, you're not going to be able to do it. It is impossible. Well, it's the same thing with all of these hustles. Why are you going to try to start all of these different hustles out there when the main moneymaker for you is it's right in front of your face and you are well aware, even if you haven't done the math on it, that hustle, your main focus, is going to bring in infinitely more than any of these little side deals. I know we are in this world where side hustles are like really sexy and fun. It's like the cool thing to do. And also, like, don't even get me started on this, but like very few people actually commit to businesses for long term as an employee. I think, the average person, actually I should know this because it's in my book that just came out, but the average person 18 to 29 changes jobs on average over 5 times. That's insanity. And over one's career, the average person changes jobs, I believe it's over 12 times. That's insanity to me, because as you've gotten all this compounding going, then you go to the next one and the next one and the next one. Imagine if you focused for years on a specific craft. I can guarantee you that you will have surpassed where you've just kind of been bouncing around all of these years. Okay. Specialists are the people that make the most money. So for you, what I would recommend, actually do a calculation on what your main hustle is making you, and then what you would have to grow your side hustle to in order to match and then surpass this. Now, I'm not even getting into the weeds of like, if you've saved up enough money to invest accordingly and like bridge your starting up of your side hustle to make more money. Like that could be a 2-hour podcast on its own. And I know most people don't have the attention span to listen to a 2-hour podcast, myself included, which is why mine are shorter. You're welcome. But what I'm telling you is, once you do that calculation, it is going to slap you in the face on how hard it actually is practically to get your side hustle to actually make sense. And for those of you out there that believe in the whole idea of, passive income from a side hustle. Like, and those YouTubers or TikTok stars or whatever the case may be, where they're like, you know what? Are you ready to build up a passive income of $10,000 to $12,000 a month? That is bullcrap. Like, there is no such thing. I'm going to get a lot of heat from this. There is no such thing as passive income. You have to work for every freaking dollar that you earn. Period. No questions asked. And no one can convince me otherwise. If you want to, you can try coming on our show and convincing me. I'm very open to that, but I've yet to hear someone convince me on that. Now, this also ties into like the whole side hustle thing to the second thing I want to talk about. Once you understand your main hustle has maximized its revenue, then and only then look into adding side hustles that complement your main hustle. So the first thing I was mentioning was the whole idea of, I'm just going to make this up. So I'm going to use my brother. So my brother runs our social media. He does a fantastic job. And what if his side hustle, he's like, I want to open up a teriyaki stand. That is stupid. That is a dumb idea. There is no complementary reasoning, social media and teriyaki shop. But what if he maxed out his business to the nth degree and he said, you know what, my social media, like I can't really grow that division of my business anymore. But what I can also do is website consulting on top of that. Like it works well. It's kind of a value add to my main business. That I'm okay with because it works in the grand scheme of things. But And it doesn't matter if it's my brother. It doesn't matter who it is, okay? Until your max hustle, in his case, it'd be his social media business, has maxed out to the tips on the revenue that he can earn, there's really no reason to do like a complementary side hustle to the business. Because even with that, like again, your side hustle by definition will not earn as much as the main revenue source. Also think about this for a second. Think about the most popular billionaires in the world. Actually, you don't even need to think about the most popular billionaires. Just think of billionaires in the world. The majority of billionaires out there made their money by doing one thing really, really good. Occasionally 2 or 3 times. I mean, you get the occasional Elon Musk who you can run like 5 companies at once and still do really, really well. Most people don't have that. So why don't you act with the mindset of a billionaire? It's not a bad mindset to have, okay? Now, before we get into number 3, we're going to need to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, you're going to want to inhale everything that I'm going to be spewing from my pseudo-knowledgeable mouth. And so with that, we are going to take this quick break. Stick around. Don't go away. I miss you already.
Are you ready to transform the way you approach sales? This episode is sponsored by the second book in the Capitalize series, Capitalize Your Sales, the all-in-one sales framework that saves you from ever struggling again and teaches you how to sell with sincerity, which dives deep into the art and science of driving sustainable growth. Packed with strategies that go beyond surface-level techniques, this book will help you understand what it takes to truly connect with clients, build long-term relationships, and close deals. Whether you're looking to fine-tune your sales craft or break through to the next level, Capitalize Your Sales offers a roadmap to success designed for today's fast-paced business world. Head on over to your favorite bookstore, order today, and start capitalizing your sales immediately. And now, back to the episode.
Welcome back from the commercial break. I missed you dearly. We're going to get right back into it with number 3. And this one's pretty short and sweet. If you want to make more money, learn the art of selling. Now, even if you decide not to get into a sales job, which is totally fine, okay? You need to understand that you are always selling yourself in some way, shape, or form. Now, even if you're in a monopoly, you have to sell. And it's interesting, when I was researching for this episode, I remember Bill Gates early on in Microsoft's career, because you could argue Microsoft has monopoly, okay? I mean, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office, there really isn't any other office out there that's like remotely close to as valuable. Bill Gates was famous for saying that in Microsoft's early days, even though there really weren't any competitors, he always asked the customer to buy. And that's a really good point that you need to take away from this. If you don't ask, you will never make the sale. And that goes for black and white sales. That goes for a bonus. That goes for a raise. That goes for a increase in responsibility. That goes for marriage. That goes for your kids. I mean, if you don't ask, you will never make the sale. Now, it's interesting. I also see that this is extremely common in the world of advertising and marketing. And I was actually walking a couple months ago with my good buddy and past guest, Josh Dunn. And we were actually talking about in the world of, advertising, marketing, social media, basically anything that is artistically related. One thing that we've realized is a lot of these people in these industries, they think that their art will sell itself. And that could not be the farthest thing from the truth. I thought about this like with Picasso, okay? Obviously, Picasso's art is very, very expensive. But you can't tell me that Picasso just woke up one day, painted a picture, and he's like, yeah, this is going to be expensive as hell. You need to buy this with an arm and a leg and, your least favorite child. That's not how it works. Like, he had to have sold the absolute snot out of what he was doing. Okay. Now, obviously he's not around, so, we can't exactly have him on the show. And if we did, it'd be very awkward. But, jokes aside, the point that you need to take away from that is if Picasso, one of the most successful artists in the world, had to sell himself to the absolute nines to make his art successful, what does this mean for you if you're in one of these businesses? Like if you are in sales, you are going to need to quickly learn how to master the art of sincere salesmanship. And now if you're not in sales, but if you have something that you're passionate about providing people, indirectly, like you are still in sales. And I know you're probably thinking like, oh, I've got my out. I don't need to sell. Every single one of you needs to learn how to sell. In fact, we were in Lake Chelan and one of our family friends we were talking about, she was like, I don't want to sell. In my mind, I'm thinking, that's fine. You're going to need to learn how to sell in some way, shape, or form. And even people in service, the best sales is award-winning service. Now, I want you to take that. I want you to take away from number 3, regardless of where you're at. It doesn't matter what you're selling, whether it's directly or indirectly. The more you understand that every single second of the day you are selling yourself, the better off you are going to be. Okay. Always, always, always learn to sell. Now, the last and final piece of advice that I want to talk about, and this one's kind of a doozy, okay? And I'm going to take you on a little trip here, but I promise it's going to come together at the end. Once you start making more money, immediately learn how to manage that money accordingly so that your money can make you money, which also makes you money, which leads to less stress in your sales process, which leads to a natural catapult in even more money. So I'm just going to use my practice and how that's evolved over the years, just because it's very easy for me to relate and translate to. And I can tell you without an ounce of a doubt, the more successful our practice got, in the more of a base that my wife and I built for ourselves. By definition, the business just started to take off. And it was one of those things where I thought, how am I going to describe this? And then Jordan Peterson, in one of his books, described the Pareto principle. Now, the Pareto principle is something extremely valuable for you to understand. And it basically describes the evolution of your success. So when you start out, you don't know anything, okay, about anything. That's fine because you're starting at ground zero. But then as you gain more knowledge, with that knowledge comes an expertise. And with that expertise comes the credibility. And then what happens over time, naturally, the people that continue to compound that expertise in success, in credibility, there are fewer of the best people out there. And so naturally, the Pareto principle describes that the majority of people are going to go to the select few best. And the reason why that's really valuable is not only can you further your success, you can get incredibly selective with who you're working with. And again, if you've actually managed your money accordingly, that gives you a base going, I don't even need to talk to this person. There's huge, huge value in that. And then you realize, no, I'm talking to this person and I'm bringing them on as a client or a customer because I genuinely want to help them. I don't need to do this, but it is my passion. It's my purpose. That's something I'm very big about in both my books. When you get to that point, you will naturally see your revenue, your income, whatever the case may be, go up into the right and skyrocket. So understand the Pareto principle. Thank you, Jordan Peterson, for writing that one, because that was hugely, hugely helpful for me. And once you understand it, you're going to make more money than you would ever begin to imagine. So that wraps up the episode on everything you need to know about side hustles and making more money. Honestly, this took me a while to whittle these down. If you want me to do a continuation of this episode, you know where to find me. You can hit me up on Instagram, LinkedIn, or X, or shoot us an email, whatever floats your boat. As always, I will see you next week. And until next time, keep capitalizing. Take care. As always, thank you for joining me today. If you have questions about today's episode or any personal finance questions, please reach out to me at Cap and Capitalize on Instagram, Chris at capitalizeyourfinances.com, or via our website, capitalizepodcast.com. If you want more Capitalize Your Finances content, head on over to capitalizepodcast.com and check out our blog, free resources, book, and online course. As always, I'm your host, Christopher A. Poniotu, Certified Financial Planning Professional, The Cap and Capitalize. And until next time, keep capitalizing.
The information provided should not be considered specific tax, legal, or investment advice and is not specific to any individual's personal circumstances. Examples cited are hypothetical, are for illustrative purposes only, and are not guaranteed. There is no guarantee that you will achieve the results discussed or illustrated. You should always seek counsel of the appropriate advisor prior to making any investment decision. All investments are subject to risk, including the loss of principal. This material was gathered from sources believed to be reliable. However, its accuracy cannot be guaranteed. Diversification strategies do not ensure a profit and cannot protect against losses in a declining market. Christopher A. Poniotu is a registered representative with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The people and companies mentioned in this podcast are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Capitalize Your Finance.